In Silicon Valley, the biggest lie currently packaged as absolute truth is this: whoever stacks the most cash on the AI gambling table wins the future. If this absurd logic actually held water, then right now, Apple should already be lying in the morgue, waiting to be declared dead. Welcome to the largest casino in tech history. Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon. These deep-pocketed titans are acting like desperate junkies, hysterically throwing nearly $380 billion onto the table, building data centers, buying NVIDIA chips, and training AI models that even their own low-level engineers probably don't understand. Cash is vaporizing, and bank servers are practically screaming in agony under the weight of these astronomical transactions. Yet, in this frenzy where every tech giant is losing their shirt, Apple stands by like a cold, calculating miser, coughing up a measly $12.7 billion. That sum is less than 1/30th of the total pot in this AI arms race. Naturally, Wall Street's elite are losing their minds. The media has pointed its heavy artillery directly at Cupertino's spaceship campus, blasting a relentless official narrative. Apple is slow. Apple has completely fallen behind. They mock the repeatedly delayed, half-baked Apple intelligence. They shake their heads at the dismal sales of the Vision Pro, which is doing nothing but gathering dust in retail stores. Even worse, in their most lucrative market, China, a resurrected Huawei is brutally snatching away their 1.4 billion disciples. And let's not forget the antitrust regulators from the U.S. Department of Justice and the EU circling Apple like vultures, ready to slap them with billions in fines. In the eyes of the public, this picture is terrifyingly familiar. Isn't this exactly Nokia in 2007, watching the iPhone take over the world while clinging stubbornly to Symbian, only to be ruthlessly crushed by history? When the whole world screams that you're dying, a normal company's first instinct would be to poach a genius AI brain from OpenAI or Google, or hire a hotshot software executive to put out the fire, right? But the decision Apple's board made in 2026 was enough to give every arrogant analyst collective insomnia. They handed the keys of this $4 trillion empire to a guy who spent 25 years playing with screws, aluminum, and cooling fans, a hardware engineer named John Ternus. Did this board, with an average age of over 60, collectively develop dementia? Or did they see a true gold mine while everyone else was staring at a mirage? This is the dirty secret Silicon Valley desperately hates to admit. In the world of tech, pure software and AI models are actually the cheapest, most easily replicated commodities. But the hardware that turns those codes into an extension of your physical body, that is the ultimate weapon that holds a knife to the consumer's throat. Apple's board couldn't care less what new feature ChatGPT rolled out this week. What they care about is how to weld the chips, the OS, and that physical chassis you touch over 800 times a day into a single unbreakable chain of profit. Once you see this, you understand why. Alongside Ternus, a man named John Shuey was appointed as the brand new chief hardware officer. He's not just managing product design, he's taking total control over CPU and silicon development. This isn't a standard corporate shuffle. This is Apple taking its two strongest moats, hardware and proprietary silicon, and fusing them into a massive broadsword to slaughter the competition. If you think this is just a routine executive transition, you are incredibly naive. This century-defining gamble called the AI future was rigged from the very start. Those tech giants burning cash at the front line and loudly hyping up their model capabilities. They are nothing but free labor working for Apple. Because Apple is the invisible house behind this entire casino. Let's roll the clock back to 1997. Facing skepticism from a crowd of hardcore tech geeks, Steve Jobs uttered a line that would be etched into Apple's DNA forever. You've got to start with the customer experience and work back toward the technology, not the other way around. The brutal truth behind this phrase is that ordinary consumers don't care if your model runs on tens of thousands of chips or uses the latest reinforcement learning. They care about one thing. Does this phone finally understand plain human speech? Can it actually save me time? While Microsoft and Google burn through billions on bleeding-edge tech, Apple plays a highly parasitic game of neutral Sweden. They flirt with OpenAI while blowing kisses to Gemini. Your model got an upgrade? Fantastic. I'll take that right into my iOS ecosystem. Every time a competitor makes a breakthrough, it becomes a free product upgrade for Apple. This brazen strategy of capturing all the value without taking any of the risk is so ruthlessly brilliant, you almost have to admire it. However, this parasitic strategy of feeding on the corpses of competitors comes with a massive price tag. The casualties of this gamble aren't just the Silicon Valley AI startups going bankrupt because they ran out of funding. Apple's true crisis is unfolding along its absolute lifeline, the massive globe-spanning supply chain empire that once made them invincible. The golden age of designed in California, assembled in China, where they could coast along and harvest global consumers like sheep over and over again, is officially dead. The Iron Curtain of geopolitics is falling. The EU is using antitrust regulations to aggressively tear into Apple's profit margins, while the US Department of Justice wants to break this monopoly into pieces. Across the ocean, Chinese consumers are shifting their hard-earned cash into a massive wave of loyalty toward local brands. Apple's sales numbers are sliding. The globalization dividend that Cook was so proud of has been wrung dry to the very last drop. This is precisely why Apple had to drop a jaw-dropping $500 billion in 2025 to execute a frantic retreat, pulling production lines back to American soil. From the assembly lines of Shenzhen to the deserts of Arizona, this isn't a simple factory relocation. This is a desperate act of survival at the edge of a geopolitical blade. This is the ultimate climax of this hardware war. Picture this future. AI is no longer a clunky, text-based chat box sitting in your web browser waiting for a prompt. It becomes an invisible ghost that sees what you see, hears what you hear, and knows your body's biometric systems better than you do. And the host this ghost feeds on isn't Google Cloud or Microsoft servers. It's the glasses on your face, the watch on your wrist, the earbuds in your ears. While you think you're just enjoying the convenience of high tech, Apple has quietly built an invisible digital prison around your physical reality. Every single thing you see, every purchase you make inside this prison pays a 30% Apple tax. This isn't science fiction. This is the exact future these hardware fanatics are building for you right now. You think this is just some cyberpunk movie set in 2030? Reach into your pocket and feel that warm smartphone. Look at the smartwatch on your wrist. The walls of this prison were built a long time ago. And the most ironic part, every single brick, every single screw inside it was bought with your own money, completely willingly. Yet within this precise trillion-dollar calculation, two hidden landmines remain that could blow Apple to smithereens. First, the new CEO, John Ternus, is a master craftsman, but he is no Steve Jobs. He can shave 0.1 millimeters off a phone's bezel and perfect the thermal cooling, but he has never proven he possesses that divine imagination required to invent an entirely new hardware category that drives the world crazy. If the Vision Pro turns out to be nothing more than an expensive, self-indulgent toy, Apple's hardware empire loses its vessel for the future. Second, there is the paradox of privacy. By definition, AI is a vampire that only gets smarter by consuming all your secrets. Yet the moral high ground Apple has claimed over the years is precisely protecting privacy. If Apple refuses to harvest your data, their AI will remain completely brain dead. If they do take it, their brand myth shatters overnight. This fatal dilemma is being passed directly on to you in the form of that increasingly expensive yet increasingly mediocre new iPhone in your hand. In this global AI gold rush, everyone is scrambling to be the digger, or Nvidia selling the shovels. But Apple's strategy from day one has been entirely different. They don't dig for gold, and they don't sell shovels. They want to buy the land where the gold is found, the air the workers breathe, and the only road the diggers must take to get back home. They refuse to be the first suckers throwing money into the tech frenzy. They want to be the ultimate winner, standing on a pile of corporate corpses, collecting the check at the very end. Will this trillion-dollar gamble on the next 30 years of Apple's destiny restore them to the throne, or will it turn them into the next Nokia dying on the shore? Next time you're about to drop cash on a dull, uninspired hardware upgrade that costs $100 more, maybe you'll finally see the brutal commercial reality behind this silicon mirage. And behind this massive hardware retreat, the secrets buried deep within the Arizona desert are far wilder than you can possibly imagine. We'll see you in the next episode.